Got it.
Good evening. I'd like to call the special meeting of the Ansonia Board of Aldermen to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And justice for all.
Trish, can we get a roll call?
Alderman King, Alderman Stowe, Alderman Adamowski,
Here.
Alderwoman Tar,
Here.
Alderman Cassetti,
Here.
Alderman Janetti,
Here.
Alderman Nutt, Alderman
Here.
Hardy,
He's here.
who, which,
Not.
not I have, Alderman Hardy,
Here.
Alderman Yauman, Alderman Rivers,
Here.
Alderman Mamone,
I'm here, Trish.
Alderman Stewart,
Here.
Alderman Levinsky,
Here.
Alderman Durante.
Here.
The only one I'm not sure about is Yauman. Is he here?
I didn't see him.
Okay,
See him.
all right. So then you have 11.
I declare
12.
quorum.
You have
12?
12. Yes,
12?
you have 12.
All right, declare a quorum. All right, so the purpose of this short meeting is to accept the resignation. This came in, I think, just after our last meeting. I thought we'd just kind of pair it with the new meeting that we have afterwards. So the accepting the resignation of Alderman Charlie Stowe, and then hopefully electing a replacement for the first ward. So before we do that, I do want to read the resignation. I think Charlie deserves the 10 years of service, and I think it deserves to be read. It's very, very brief, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve the city of Ansonia for 10 years. And oh boy, did we make some changes. Lower taxes, Main Street, needless to say, a lot of hard work. And I'm tired. I'm going to resign knowing that Mayor Dave and his new team will be up to the challenge. Thank you, Charles W. Stowe. And I just wanted to comment that he's always been a great supporter of myself. I think he was one of the original people who nominated me for the Board of Aldermen. And anyone that worked with him knows that he was a true bulldog, and fought for, keeping taxes down and keeping to the mission and everything. So was a great alderman. So and I know we'll send a letter to him, and I'd be honored to actually send it on behalf of our board myself. So do we have a motion to accept that resignation?
Make a
Make the
motion.
motion.
Second.
Motion by Rivers, and who was the seconder?
Me.
Second by G. Second by Jim.
Janetti.
All right. Any other comments? Discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Motion accepted. And then the second piece is the to nominate and elect an alderman to replace in the first ward. Do we have any nominations for the first ward?
Josh, I would like to nominate Gary Farrar for the position recently vacated by Charlie for First Ward Alderman, City of Ansonia.
I'd like to second that.
All right, motion by Mamone and second by Joe Janetti. Do we have any other nominations? Do we have any other nominations? Do we have any other nominations? All right, hearing none. All those casting votes for Gary Farrar Jr. for First Ward Alderman, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, congrats. Motion carries. You are now a First Ward Alderman. I see you're here. Congrats, Gary, and make sure you stay online. We have a meeting immediately following this. Be seated as an alderman.
Perfect, thank you.
If Gary's here, I'll swear him in right now. If he'd
Okay.
please stand and raise his right hand. You on there, Gary?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, you do solemnly swear that you'll faithfully discharge according to law your duties as the first ward alderman to the best of your ability, so help you God.
I do.
Congratulations. Take your seat.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Gary.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Gary. And
You're a good
congratulations.
person, Gary, yay.
All right.
Thank
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. A second.
Motion adjourned by Mamone, second by Tar, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the special meeting is adjourned. We have a 10-minute break. We'll start promptly at 7 for the regular meeting at the same this same site. So don't. Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the Ansonia Board of Aldermen monthly meeting. And I'd like to call the monthly meeting for September 12th, 2023 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Rise.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One
One
nation,
nation,
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty,
and justice for all.
for all.
Beautiful.
And they call your name. you say.
Roll call, Trish?
Aldermen and women. King. I know he's in there.
He's
He's
here.
here.
Farrar,
Here.
Adamowski,
Here.
Tar,
Here.
Cassetti,
Here.
Janetti,
Here.
Nutt,
Here.
Hardy,
Here.
Yauman, Rivers,
Here.
Mamone,
Here.
Stewart,
Here.
Levinsky,
Here.
Durante.
Here.
Okay, you have 13 of the 14 present.
All right, I declare a quorum.
Then Stuart, couldn't we sing happy birthday to Sheila?
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
All right, ready.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday to you.
Happy
birthday,
Dear Sheila.
And John Marie.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh, that was lovely. I mean, it was really lovely. Thank you.
Brought to you by the Ansonia Alley Cats.
And we should note that John Marini's birthday was yesterday, so let's hit it again.
All right.
Happy birthday
Hold
to
on, I got the mute. I got the
you.
mute button, guys. I can hit the mute button. You know that, right?
And many
Happy
more.
birthday.
And I will if it continues.
Happy birthday.
Guess who else's birthday is? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Happy birthday, everybody. So moving on to the minutes, we had actually 5 sets of minutes. I'm going to break them into 2 categories because they were on 2 different dates. So on August 8th, we had 3 meetings, public hearing, special meeting, and the full meeting. Can I get a motion to accept those as a group?
So
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mamone, second by Adamowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Who's the abstention?
I am.
Oh, one
Is that-
abstention. Yep, okay. The motion carries. We'll accept those. And the second set was August 31st. There was 2. Those are joint, a public hearing and a special meeting on the bond.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mamone, second by Tar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And abstentions?
Same. Yep.
Abstention for R. All right, motion carries. All right, so move on to public session. Just a quick reminder, as always, 3-minute maximum or preferably less. Time to speak your piece as residents. You have 1 time at the podium, and please identify yourself for the public record or any potential follow-up. Are there anyone from the public who wishes to speak tonight?
I do.
All right, first speaker, name and address.
Christopher McCarsky, 22 Silver Hill Road, Ansonia, Connecticut.
All right, hit it.
And I'm here again about my parking space. And I'd like to hear that everybody got the copy of the letter from Attorney Dominic Thomas.
Yes, it's on later in the agenda under old business. Yep. Carry on.
I'd also would like to know, I'd like to clear up some things. An easement is not warranted in this. It never has been. It never has been because the land that's there is not owned by anybody. It's a right of way. And in section 25(6) of our city charter, right of way means the street or lot lines defining the limits of land dedicated, secured, or reserved for public use. That would be like the sidewalks when you walk downtown. That would be the same places where people park their cars on the street. That's the right of way. That's part of the roadway. You cannot give me part of the roadway. You cannot lease me that. Because easement, and the same thing from our city charter, means authorization by a property owner, which there is no property owner of that. It's a public, it's a dedicated public walk or drive. Easement means authorization by a property owner for the use by another and for a specified purpose of any designated part of his property. That property where I'm going and trying to dig out a parking space so that it's safe for me to get my groceries out, so that it's safe for the entire neighborhood, which there are two copies, two different petitions that have been signed for virtually everybody in the neighborhood to go and put that there. Because it's a very thin street and it's on a curve. It's a very dangerous thing. Now I'm willing, and I have been willing to do this out of pocket. Everything that I want to do has been looked at and has been approved by the town engineer. That's the only documentation I need to go and present. And it's been presented to him. That is also in the letter that was sent by Dominic Thomas. So now I've been denied my use of public land over there to go and park, to make it safe. And even if they go back to 1959 for the train station, you find that recirculation of traffic through the streets of the city of Ansonia is necessary to the health, safety, and general welfare of the inhabitants of the city of Ansonia. And that's what I'm trying to help create over here. And now, since there is definitely not any need for an easement, since we now know that it is the public land over there, I would please like to make my parking space and put up the retaining wall over there so that I can park and move that ridiculous stone over there out of there.
I lost him.
So that's what I'm asking for, is permission to go and dig out a parking space there in the public right of way, not on anybody's land. And if anything, the retaining wall that I put up would help the neighbor over there, who's this is a little bit in front of the very edge of their land where they can't even see it anymore because of what they've grown there. Because all the dirt has been sliding down into the road. That's why I was digging it out by hand. The town actually helped me go and make the footings for the stone wall, the 40 feet of stone wall I put in front of my house. So you can see that I know what I'm doing. The retaining wall will be blocks. It will be able to be removable for if the state comes by and widens the road. So I don't understand why I have been denied this, except for the misconception that an 824 was needed for this. So we now know that that's not needed. And all what is needed is for the alderman to go and say, yes, Mr. McCarsky, you can do this thing out of your pocket with no expense to the city that is going to benefit those that travel that road and help make it safer. It won't cure all the problems. The road is so narrow, I have literally witnessed cars going by each other, taking off their mirrors.
3 minutes now.
Literally. So I ask that you grant me permission to go and make my parking space there. It's not hurting anybody, and it's just gonna be a help.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak tonight?
I would,
All right.
Josh.
I believe you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Tara Kolakowski, 14 Farrell Drive, Ansonia, Connecticut. I have some things to address about the possible sale of the WPCA. For example, who is the city in negotiations to sell it to? What is the company's history in other places on rate increases? How long would the purchase freeze rates? Is there any cap to future increases? And if yes, for how long? Typically, utility commissions that are oversee private utility providers are not the stopgap on increases. People should know this, that once it becomes a public utility, there's absolutely no recourse that the residents of Ansonia have. We have no recourse when we pay our UI bill or our gas bill, and that could be substantially crippling to residents that are finding it very difficult financially right now. The second thing is, why aren't we in person meetings? Mayor's in City Hall. Sheila's in City Hall right now. Other boards and commissions do it both. I'm a big advocate of having both virtual and in person. I think it works well. Other boards in the city go virtual and in person. So, we would like to see that happen sooner rather than later. And the attachment that was sent out for this meeting is the revenue report. Is it correct, or am I reading it correct, that we are $417,000 running in the negative, so almost $2 million? If somebody could clarify that, because it looks like the city is running negatively right now. And I think that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'll just note that the WPC is not on the agenda. So those are all good questions you asked, and I'm
Thanks.
sure we'll go to those, and we go to bid, obviously, so there's no negotiations happening, but I'm sure in due time, those potentially could be.
And why wasn't it put on the referendum? That's the other thing.
This isn't like a back and forth.
I just was commenting that it's not on the agenda, but
Oh, well,
you're allowed to speak about anything, but I was just
right.
saying it's not something we're discussing because it's not up for anything.
But you had discussed it previously, and it's in I think it was May and June, and then it kind of disappeared. And so when do you bring it up? After the fact, when it's been voted on, or do you want me to go to the WPCA meeting, or is that virtual? Do you want me to bring it up there? Tell me where to go. I'll go.
I would recommend going to those. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
But the BOA has the final say, right?
Again, this is not on the agenda, and it's also not a
But
Q&A.
it's city business. Doesn't matter if it's on the agenda or not.
I understand that, but we're not discussing this tonight, so I'm not having a back and forth with you on something that.
No, I wasn't expecting a back and forth, Josh. I wasn't expecting that at all. I just figured it's on record. Maybe the BOA wants to address it as a concerned citizen, that I'm asking the questions. In October, maybe you guys and gals can come back with an answer. 30 days. No?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would go to as many WPCA meetings as you can, if that's, you've talked about it twice in 2 months or in 2 meetings. So I would say you should attend those meetings. That would be a good source.
Right, but it was on the BOA agenda. That's why I went here first.
It's not on the BOA agenda for the third time.
It was on the BOA agenda in May or June. But any concerned resident, Josh, that wants to bring something up, it doesn't have to be on the agenda. That's what Board of Aldermen meetings are for. To go and voice your opinion.
You're asking for information on something that we're not acting on. That's all I was saying.
Okay, so at the next meeting, could you get information or answers that would address those?
Well, we have city staff on, so we'll obviously that information is being passed on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else who wants to from the public who wishes to speak tonight? There's actually 2 pages, so I'm looking. Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? third and final call. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, we'll close the public session, move on to public official session. Mayor Cassetti?
Did you hear me, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, President Stewart, members of the Board of Aldermen and residents of the great city of Ansonia. As you drive around downtown, I want to draw your attention to 501 East Main Street. And I want to remind you that the public-private partnership we developed has resulted in hundreds of apartments, new retail growth, and hundreds of apartments to come. In addition, that partnership has resulted in a brand new police station and senior center. Many of you know that 501 East Main Street is a bear of a building that has been vacant since the 1970s, with over 110,000 square feet of hollowed out factory, remnants of our rich industrial past. If you look at the building now, you'll note there is already rapid progress with a new roof, demolished interior, and plans for an underground parking garage are underway. It is exciting to see that all our hard work is finally paying off. Sheila and John will update you on more progress later on. Just want to remind you the boxing is in full swing with over 100 children registered to learn and compete at the Armory. The Ansonia Library is holding a book signing at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. The author of the book of the top 10 Beatle list, along with live music from a Paul McCartney lookalike, Dane Bramage. Finally, I want to remind you that one of my favorite events, Harvest Fest, will be happening on Saturday, September 23rd. I am told that David S. Pumpkin will be making a guest appearance. Hope to see you all there. Thank you. God bless you all, and God bless the city of Ansonia.
Thank you, Mayor. Next up, Corporation Counsel John Marini.
Mr. President, members of the board, good evening and congratulations to our new alderman. Welcome on board. Number one, I want to go over very briefly WPCA. Where are we with that? That question was raised. And of course, this board had previously talked about an interest in taking a look at a possible sale. However, we still need to have an appraisal completed on the city side, and we need to go out to bid. So residents who are very eager to follow that line of action, or aldermen, alderwomen, we do need to wait until the appraisal is complete and a bid is sent out. And of course, a bid is responded to before we're going to see really any substantive discussions or action. But you will see that appraisal and the bid. Hopefully, we're hoping the next maybe 30 to 60 days. It's not something that we're looking on, certainly acting on without a lot of thought and time. Next, something I need for a sale that is around the corner is I do need to have a public hearing date on 2 Elm Street. Of course, our former Ansonia Police Station before we got our new downtown station. So we do have a prevailing bidder there. But before we finish up with our contract negotiation and get ready on a vote to actually sell the property per state statute, we do need a hearing that is both noticed in the paper and noticed physically on the building. So I'm going to need 10 days to get notice in the paper and on the building before that hearing takes place. So I'm looking to get that somewhere maybe end of this month set up now so we can go ahead and get the notices out. Also, I'd like to inform everybody about an FOI seminar that we're conducting at City Hall this Thursday at 3 o'clock. If you can't make it down in person, we will have a link available tomorrow up on Facebook, and you are invited either as a board member, an official, or member of the public. And we're going to be conducting the FOI seminar in tandem with the State FOI Commission and its educational officers, which we've done from time to time. So that is always interesting.
Hey, John, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can somebody possibly mute Josephine's iPad or iPhone? Look, I think we're getting some feedback and it's cutting in and out from what you're saying, John.
Hold on. Okay, I think I did mute it. All right. Want to let everybody know that our referendum has been booted up. So we're going to be hearing back soon on what that looks like on the actual ballot. Of course, you've gone over the questions already, but we're going to see exactly where they end up on the ballot, the front, the back, or both. But all that information has been processed, and thank you to the clerk's office for their help with that. Other than that, we have executive session tonight. We have some items there to discuss. And of course, we have a presentation on the status of SHW, and that is a very important project. You know, the demolition, everyone can see that, but a very important progress update on that situation later in the course of Sheila's report. I'll chime in then. Other than that, any questions, any concerns?
Any questions for Corporation Counsel from the Aldermen? All right. Next up, Economic Development Director, Sheila O'Malley.
Mr.
Birthday-
President, you're going to be disappointed, but I'm going to defer my balance to the presentation I'm going to make at about SHW later in the meeting.
Okay. Any questions for Sheila unrelated to SHW at this time?
Just a comment, Josh. Probably should have went at the mayor, but you know, to the mayor, to the staff, to the Cultural Commission, I know many hundreds, if not thousands of residents attended the Rock the Valley event. From walking in to walking out, fireworks, all of the bands, the acts, all of the, you know, great food trucks that were there and everything too. Marvelous job, and, you know, hats off to everybody involved that made that a huge success for the city. It was talked about in all the surrounding cities as well. So fabulous job to anyone and everybody involved, including everybody who attended.
All right, thank you. All right, any other questions? All right, we'll pick you up later then in the agenda.
Okay.
Next up is Chief Williams here.
It was.
H2.
Good evening. I'm here. You skipped over Mr. Miller. You got me by surprise.
My bad. Kurt Miller, Financial Officer. Kurt Miller, any
similar to Sheila, I will defer my time to the two topics, particularly with the solar array that'll be discussed shortly in the agenda.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Miller from the Alderman other than those items?
Is he wearing the wrong shirt?
He's wearing the wrong shirt, says not.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't realize I had that on. I apologize.
Yeah. You need to put some
Later.
Put yourself on mute and blur, Kurt. And we'll move on now.
Did the same thing last night too for the boat meeting.
Superintendent's here, Josh.
Regionalization.
What's that?
It's in support regionalization.
Yeah, we're going to go to
Yeah, the penalty is pretty clear though, Mr. Miller. You need to wear our shirt over there next. So we will be checking on the Zoom meetings and seeing more next week.
Well, if I'm sent a nice one, I'd be happy to slide it on, probably.
Sure, we got an Ansonia recharge shirt for you. Or hat or scarf.
All right, we've waited long enough.
Superintendent Tobacco.
No. Hey,
sorry, Josh.
Let me control the order here. We're already way out of order. No, we're not. My agenda says Police Chief Wayne Williams, and I see him. And actually,
oh, sorry,
Dr. Tobacco will be next, and I see he's here queued up as well.
Thank you, Sheila. I'll add that to the list. All right, so I'll make it short and sweet tonight since everybody seems to be skipping. Just a personnel update. We hired two new officers at the last Board of Police Commissioner meeting last week. We still have two more officer openings as well as one dispatcher opening that we're working on filling. We have 4 new officers that are finishing up their field training programs. We should see them, they're already on the street, but should see them solo on the street over the next couple of weeks. You may have seen an article in the newspaper recently about a grant-funded speed enforcement patrols that have been going out. They've actually been going out for several months, but we've picked it up, especially recently. That grant's a $50,000 total reimbursement from the state. Hold on one second. That grant is a $50,000 total reimbursement from the state, so it's used to cover all the costs of the extra patrols that are put out. Quick building update. The garage is nearly complete. I was informed that it's about 95 to 96% complete. They have some final touch-up work that they have to do, and we're hoping to be in there by the end of the month. I know that there was a little bit delay in some of the work that they had to do, so we're still hoping to be in by the end of the month. You're all aware that there was we investigated the July 14th homicide of Abdul Jahil Humphrey. I advised you on that case is still going on. Detectives have been working on it daily. We've identified suspects in that homicide, so we are continuing to work that case. The Rock the Valley event went well. There was a really large crowd, but we were able to staff that accordingly with both us, fire and medical. And we're working on planning for the Harvest Festival on September 23rd, where we'll also have plenty of personnel there to make sure that there's no issues. I'll take any questions that you have.
Any questions for the chief from the alderman? No? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, Josh.
Yep.
This is Dan King. I had a question for the chief.
Yep.
Last week there was an incident, shots fired on Leicester Street, involving one of your officers and a dog in his backyard. I'm assuming there's an investigation ongoing to look into what happened with that.
Yes. Yep. Anytime an officer discharges their weapon at a person or an animal, obviously a person, there's a much more of an investigation. But even at an animal, we do an internal investigation to sort it out, to find out what happened.
Right. Because, I was just wondering on that because it seemed like a strange incident that the officer ended up in that yard. But, I trust that there will be an investigation and we'll hear about the outcome of that, right?
I'm not sure if it was a strange incident. He was going after a suspect that was wanted.
So there was an arrest?
There was not an incident. He was looking for a suspect that was wanted in connection with several other crimes.
Right, and that wasn't the person.
The person in the backyard ended up not being the person he was looking for.
Okay. So, all right. So, I'm just saying in the future, we will get an update on this, right? What happens as far as laws and effect and anything involving the officer. And I'm just concerned because, there was a lot of gunfire, and in a residential neighborhood. I'm pretty sure, if anyone else on that street fired 5 rounds in the backyard in between houses.
We would investigate it. Correct.
Okay. No, thank you. I'll check back with you on that.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan. Chicago, did you have something as well?
No, I was going to say I was going to let him off.
Oh, okay. No questions. All right. Any other questions for the chief? All right. As always, thank you for coming to our meeting and updating us. All right. Next up, and I know for a fact he's not wearing a Seymour shirt.
No.
Superintendent Dr. DeBacco.
No. And
Hit it.
we got Seymour on Friday, so
I know.
Let's see what happens. But first, I'd like to congratulate Gary for our congratulations. The 2023 school year started off excellent. First, I'd like to thank Mayor Cassetti for addressing all my staff at convocation. Very much appreciated. Also, Wayne Williams, thank you for the first couple days sending officers to all our schools to make sure everything ran smoothly. Pick up, drop off buses, greatly appreciated. I want to say a great thank you to the aldermen and to the Board of Ed for having the foresight to have air conditioning in our schools. As you saw, many schools were letting out. Our kids were getting fed, they were getting educated, all in a very safe air-conditioned environment. Thank you to having that foresight, everybody on this call right now. I just want to let you know I'm very proud of the decision of our athletic director to play on Thursday night. He assured me that the field would be covered with shade, and evidently Coach Brockett knows his field, and he knows he knew that it would be shaded the whole time. I know only 6 teams play on Thursday night, and 11 teams moved it to Friday or Saturday, which all of them got rained out and have to get played again. But I bring Tom Brockett's name up because not only was he correct, but he actually just surpassed Coach Hunt as having the most wins of any Ansonia football coach in Ansonia history. I just want to let you know, Coach Brockett takes 0 to no credit. He'd probably get very mad to know that I even brought it up here at this meeting, but I did think some of the comments that he shared were very important. He says he has no desire to take any credit for this milestone. He said it's actually a testament to this community, the program, the youth coaches, the legendary coaches before him, and most importantly, the student athletes in these the families. So it is a testament to Ansonia proper and everyone within this community. I did want to share, it appears that our enrollment is increasing on a daily basis. We are registering new students, and I'm only going to say it as a positive. It must be a testament to all the positive things that are occurring right now in Ansonia, because from the end of June till now to present, we have registered 350 new students. So our enrollment is increasing, and it must be because of the positive environment in which people want to live. That's my update right now. I'm more than willing to answer any questions that the aldermen have at this time.
Yes, Joe, I want to thank you for all the good work that you are doing for our Ansonia school system. But I do have a bone to pick with you that I haven't got my gear
I
yet.
know you didn't get your swag yet. I know you need swag and drip. I got it. I duly noted.
Okay.
Yeah, because you should see how he dresses otherwise.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
All right.
Any other questions for the superintendent? All right. I also thank you for coming this month and every month and updating us on things. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. So ends public official session, and we'll move on to let's see, financial reports. First up, Finance Committee.
Make a motion to pay all bills if deemed correct, Josh?
Second.
Second by Mamone, second by Rivers, to pay all bills if found correct. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All
Mm-mm.
right, motion carries unanimously. Second, under financial reports are the vote recommendations. That meeting just happened last night, but we did receive that. Any questions on that, or do we have a motion to accept the municipal report, the vote recommendations?
Motion to accept as presented.
Second.
Motion to accept by Mamone, second by Not. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries. And thirdly, under financial reports, we have the request for refunds. I'm trying to find it.
132.59.
In the amount of $132.59. If found correct.
Motion.
Motion by Rivers,
Second.
second by Tar. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries again. And then we'll move on to the monthly reports, just as you had a bunch of reports
Yep.
in your packet, which I always appreciate when the department heads submit those. And they were in your monthly packet. We have a motion to accept them as a bundle.
Motion.
Motion by Rivers to accept monthly reports.
Second.
Second by Adamowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Perfect.
May I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Refunds, $5,132.59, correct?
Thought it was way less than that.
132.
That's,
It was like $100 something, wasn't it?
I see 513259 on the report. Are you, I'm looking at it now, the one that we were emailed. 5,132.59.
513259.
Right?
Is that the September or August?
September.
September.
I have refund report 100 and, oh, you know what? That's not a dollar sign. That
It's
is
a 5.
No, it's a 5.
Five, it looks like
Okay.
$1.
Can we
All
fix
right.
that one?
Yeah, so
5,132.59 Rivers and Tar.
I
Are
looked
willing
at
to
that.
amend?
Yeah. Who was that, Mamone? Who made that motion?
Rivers and Tar.
Reverse.
Rivers, you want to amend that?
Yes, I'll amend it to 5,130.
259.
513259.
Okay, there you go.
And I'll still second.
That looks strangely like a dollar sign, but all right, cool.
Trish,
All in favor? Do we vote on that already? Let's vote again because it's a completely different number. All in
Please
favor?
vote on the amendment.
aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thanks for catching that, Trish. Let's see. We got we have no accidents and claims. We have no communications.
Nope.
We have no resignations. We have no resolutions.
Nope.
We have no appointments.
Nope.
We have no ordinance. We have no new business. We have old business. Old business number 1. Economic Development Director Sheila O'Malley and Corporation Counsel John Marini, presentation SHW. You guys are-
Sheila, you're muted.
There's a
Muted.
presentation to do a screen share
I
with.
only have about five slides, but Alderman Adamowski had asked for a recap of SHW and it's probably about time. So, just want to, if we could put that up, do you want me to share my
Can you
screen?
share that?
Or what? John, you had.
Everyone's allowed to share unless if you
Okay.
need me, I could as well. But
So, just quickly, you know, SHW demolition of building 11 and the associated buildings has been completed. There's remaining waste to remove, and we're waiting on the demolition subcontractor to remove those items. We are also waiting on an appropriation from the state for a grant for additional cleanup of, let me pull up the, sorry. Here it is. So building 11, all of this is building 11. This is the building that remains, that's building 12. So we're waiting on an additional appropriation from the state for a grant to clean the ground area where 11 was demolished and to do some subsurface and deal with asbestos issues in building 12. We are working right now with High Axiom, who is the company that wants to lease space in this corner of the property. So they are tucked back in to the southern, southwestern corner of the property.
toward the street.
Yeah. And then building 12, we are in discussions with a metal manufacturer for this site. It's actually probably more costly to keep that building intact than it is to demolish it. But we are continuing our discussions with SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office, and with DECD. And then this is a snapshot of what an access road would look like into both the SHW parcel and the Ansonia Copper and Brass parcel. And I just wanted to mention a few names, and of course this board for help with acquiring the site and John could talk a little bit more about that, but I want to thank Stanford Demolition, state and federal partners, DeCarlo and Dell, AECom, Hygienics, Anna helps with reimbursements. That's always a big help. So I just want to mention those folks as well. And I think, John, if you have anything to add.
I just think for clarification, not necessarily for the members of this board, maybe our new members, but also the residents, understand SHW is this sliver of the overall 60-acre copper and brass industrial parcel downtown that we already own, right? So SHW, during COVID, actually, the city was able to successfully negotiate the transfer of this property to the city's ownership pursuant to brownfield liability protection. And of course, Sheila, through her office, was able to navigate the obstacles necessary to trigger funding for this site and to be able to bring it to the ground, clearing a pathway for development. This is, of course, just a sliver of the overall 60 acres, but strategically, it's vital because it borders, is adjacent to the street. And it also borders, of course, the larger copper and brass parcel. In fact, it intertwines with it in many ways. And we are on route to obtain ownership of the larger 60-acre parcel. We are in a foreclosure action in court. It is a very complicated foreclosure action because of the amount of defendants involved, but fortunately, it's not opposed at all. So we are looking to take title through foreclosure to the larger parcel somewhere in the next, hopefully 2 to 3 months. But meanwhile, we have plenty to work with and work on with regards to SHW. In terms of what the mayor's office vision is for the site, SHW, and the larger site, right up front, it's revenue and it's jobs. We're looking to create revenue to invest back into the city, whether it be the schools or the infrastructure. And we are, of course, looking to create the opportunities for good paying jobs for our residents. And that's the bottom line in terms of what the mission is for this site. But we've come a long, long way in just the last couple of years. And that's, of course, thanks to this board giving us the authorization and approvals we needed to do what some other municipalities may have run away from, which is the direct ownership of this parcel, to roll up our sleeves, get involved, and actually do what needs to be done to do this demolition and prep now for reuse. Reuse that is going to make a difference, an absolute difference in the lives of our residents.
And John's right. This parcel is 4.5 acres, and the entire parcel with Ansonia Copper and Brass is 60+ acres. So this is like a sliver, but a lot already accomplished and a lot to come.
It's also a point of entry, obviously. And of course, thank you to our funders on every level that see the need here. The return on investment in this project is immense in terms of what turning around this 60 acres would do, not just for Ansonia, but for the entire Valley region. And of course, the question might be, hey, how are we going to come to agreements on the end users? Of course, that is in the public's eye. It is this board. If there are any leases, they're going to come here. And if there's any interest in, of course, sale, it's going to have to go through the proper channels, and it's going to come here to this Board of Aldermen on a public agenda and for the public's review and scrutiny. But again, right up front, right, transparent, what are we looking to do? Create revenue for the town, create jobs for its residents.
All right, any questions?
Josh, I had a question.
Yep.
Sheila, could you put one of those maps up again?
Yes.
So one of the things that I was hoping you might do tonight, or John, is to clarify the relationship between SHW and the Farrell Corp. Are we using these terms synonymously relative to the entire property depicted on the map?
Yeah,
or is there a distinction?
These are former Farrell buildings, right? These SHW was Farrell at one point. It's 35 North Main Street. This building is 35 Main Street. That's privately held, and another Farrell building. And the other Farrell building is on 1 West Main Street across the tracks. I probably have a better diagram, but I didn't include it. But So they're all either former Farrell buildings or former Ansonia Copper and Brass buildings.
Okay, so when we look at is that work area 8 that's in front of 10?
That isn't, all of this has been demolished. So what you see now is a wall and building 12. So all of this has been cleared away.
Everything in the colored sections is demolished.
Yeah, this is an older map, but it needs to be updated, but everything's
Okay,
been.
so the portion of the building that says Farrell Corp on it, that's right on the North Main Street sidewalk, that goes up to the Maple Street Bridge. It's in kind of postmodern architecture.
That's
50s, 60s bricks with
Yep.
metal corrugated walls. Is that part of will that be part of the demolition area or not?
So that is privately held. However, someone interested in the building has asked our demolition company for a quote on demolishing 35 Main Street, because right now it just doesn't hold any value as is, or holds more value demolished. We don't have control of that at this
Is
point.
that held by the Farrell Corporation? Or
No. So it's important, and honestly, our mistake, I think, because it's a little more nuanced, right, than just this sliver and the rest of Copper and Brass. There actually is a third element here, right? There is a third property owner that owns 2 former Farrell buildings. One is the one that you see here, the foundry that abuts the end of Main Street. So as you go down right past the police station,
35
it's the one
Main.
with the big Farrell on the side, right?
Yeah.
That is not owned by Farrell anymore, but is held by a private owner that is not Copper and Brass. And that same owner owns what we call 1 West Main Street, which is down by the tracks. You can only see it when you're going over the bridge or when you go, when you follow the tracks under the bridge. Those 2 are not part of Copper and Brass or SHW, and they aren't part of our overall arrangement because they're privately held. And I believe there is a tax delinquency issue on one of them, on 1 West Main Street, and we are pursuing it, but it doesn't appear that it's going to be a property that will remain delinquent. So this is not part of that tax foreclosure. They're fairly up to date on their taxes, but they're no longer owned by Farrell. Farrell has left all of its properties downtown and gone entirely up to Fountain Lake.
And that owner is holding it for what purpose?
I believe, so it gets even a little murkier, right? There is a little bit of a title dispute between the owner of those parcels and one of the tenants of those parcels, and it gets a little complicated. So I believe the owner would like to pursue redevelopment of those parcels, but it's being a bit hampered because of the litigation between them and their tenants. So this is nothing involving the city, but obviously of very much interest to us as we sit back and watch. The one thing we've been insisting on, of course, is that through all of this, we get our taxes paid at the very least,
Right.
property, any real estate and personal property taxes. But this is not part of our plan to take Copper and Brass and to continue the demolition and remediation of the site.
So thanks for that clarification. I raise that because if you look at that corrugated front of the building, this is probably the most invasive part of the project, where today you would never build a factory right up to the sidewalk, right? And as you look at the overall development of this parcel, it would be great to have some type of a landscaped buffer between the sidewalk or expansion of the sidewalk and a landscape buffer, before anything else goes in there, or there's any renovation done of anything that's going to stay up. And I'm hoping that that portion of the building will also succumb to city ownership and demolition, because again, you just wouldn't build a factory that way today, right up to the sidewalk, and it's an eyesore, and it's particularly it's an abandoned presence that weighs very heavily on the aesthetics of the city as you enter the city. And again, my other question, Sheila, for you is that the area that is directly adjacent, if you're on North Main Street, you're looking into the lot where the demolition has occurred, and then behind that you have a structure with open windows and stuff hanging there, and it looks like it was a part that still needed to be developed. Now, is that part of the Farrell SHW, or is that part of the grass?
Steve, if you look at the screen, let me know which, are you talking about this building?
So if you can orientate yourself on North Main Street.
This is SHW, this is North Main Street along here. This is SHW. All of the red is Ansonia Copper and Brass, and the two yellow are Farrell Corporation.
Okay, so that would be where those open windows are, and the stuff hanging behind the area that has been removed. That is part of the Brass company?
Ansonia Copper and Brass, right.
Okay, and that was built right up to the SHW building?
Yeah.
Is that why
They
we've got
share
those
they
open
share the
windows
same,
and the cavernous look and so on?
they share the same wall.
Yeah, it's intertwined, as we were saying. It's physically intertwined. So these buildings are actually, they were connected, and demolition involves a lot of disconnection between the two properties. It's impossible to avoid work on the Copper and Brass property when you're demoing the SHW property.
Right. And the state grants that are there state and federal grants that have been received for the American Brass portion? I know there was funding for the bridge, and my understanding that would be the first step of any renovation or demolition of the American Brass property. And there's a federal grant for that, correct?
We received $6.5 million in state funds for that. The federal grant, which is $2.9 million, is going to be used for the access road, for site pads, and to clean up what's left on the property and prep it for development.
Okay, and when do you anticipate that work would be done?
We are anticipating, you mean the bridge or the rest of the remainder?
Well, let's start with the bridge, because the bridge comes before the access road, correct?
Yeah, we're working on the financial assistance agreement between the state and the city of Ansonia, and once that is drafted up and signed and approved, then money starts flowing.
Okay. All right. This is extremely helpful, and again, I want to commend you on all your work on this. I think in terms of the future of the city, this is probably the most important project that will ever occur, at least in our lifetimes, and probably several generations as well. So the hardest part of this is starting it, and you've started it, and hopefully this will just move along in a slow but steady increments and lead to a much brighter future.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, it's the most important project for Ansonia's future, and we're chipping away at it. We're going to see real progress as we move along. Thank you for this board's cooperation and
thank you guys again.
The mayor's vision and everyone's help.
All right. Any other questions from the alderman? on the presentation? All right, can you kill that screen so we can go back to,
Okay, sorry.
there we go. All right, since there's no other questions, we'll move on to the second piece of old business, number 2, solar panel installation.
John, am I kicking this off or did you want to?
Aaron, you want
Yeah,
Aaron to
sorry.
kick it off?
Yeah, well, I guess I'll give a little intro. So as you know, we started an energy efficiency project about 2 years ago with Johnson Controls. The first major phase of that was doing some work in our buildings. And the biggest piece obviously was the solar array at the transfer station. Unfortunately, we did hit a few snags with that process, you know, the lingering effects of COVID, supply chain issues, issues working with utility companies and so on and so forth. But that project is about 80% done. Aaron will talk a little bit about that quickly. But phase 2 of that project, we had talked about putting in solar carports in the East Main Street parking lot. So what I wanted to do is have Aaron come back, have the conversation with the aldermen, kind of refresh their memory, address any questions that anyone might have, and then at that point, look for some direction from you folks, how you'd like us to move forward. So with that, I'll pass it over to Aaron Alibrio from Johnson Controls. He has a quick presentation that he's going to do. So Aaron?
Thanks a lot, Kurt. I appreciate that, Mayor, Board of Aldermen, staff, and residents. So yes, you guys entrusted us with an energy project that Kurt gave you a quick overview. I'll do the same with an overview and then talk to you about the phase 2 opportunity. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully that works. That looks like we're good. You good on seeing the screen there?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. So, Kurt, as mentioned, we did a phase 1 contract. We had looked at all the work available through a performance-based energy contract in the schools and the cities, and we moved forward with the city project. There was weatherization, pipe and valve insulation, some VFDs, transformer, and 2 solar arrays, which were the largest portion of the project, along with some plug load management. And as Kurt said, we ran into a little bit of some issues. The landfill solar array, which is the largest solar array, is scheduled to complete in early October with PTO's permission to operate, so that system will come online shortly after that. From a historical perspective, we signed this contract basically in the beginning of 2021, and we submitted, after getting the design stuff done, the interconnection agreement. We were still starting to feel the effects of COVID in the remote working folks down at UI. It took a year. We went into what we thought was going to be at least an overview, not the fast track, but at least a review. And they put it into a feasibility study, which took much longer. And we finally got the approval 7/22. We also hit some snags with regards to that supply chain issues and mobilization until all the equipment was on site, from switchgear, panels, and racking systems. Obviously subcontractors weren't ready to get going, and then we did the roll testing to make sure that the site was good. I'm happy to report where we are today and give you a little bit of visual perspective on that largest component. So as you can see, very visually appealing solar array, capitalizing on an unused piece of property. that's going to produce power that's going to be consumed down there. And so, look, I commend you guys for entrusting us to do this. I love the fact that we're talking about recharging Ansonia, and this is the next potential phase. And I do have this as phase 2 and 2.4. What you're looking at is the 432 East Main Street behind City Hall, solar carport arrangement. And then the 2.5 is really we had hoped to have been presenting the Arms Building and some PD solar, but those are smaller than 200 kW. That program is oversubscribed. So we're kind of in a holding pattern until February before we can try to execute those bids. The solar carport that you saw, the array, is part of the virtual net metering program, which is now termed from the renewable energy side by Pura. It's called a non-residential. It's very, very interesting terminology. Instead of the ZREC, which we were familiar with before, these are new non-residential contracts. So first bullet point, the proposed array that you saw is almost 480 kW. That'll produce about $544,000 of kilowatt hours annually at a contract rate of 0.122. That'll produce a little bit more than $66,000 worth of savings. We secured a non-residential renewable energy credit award at the 2002 bid or 2022 bid. That will be a 20-year contract that will execute upon energizing that solar array that we displayed. The award rate was at a little over 9 cents, resulting in $52,000 annually, lifetime of almost $1 million. The highlighted item is just for your information. This new program has a 3-year window and must be operational by 8/29/25. The virtual net metering program allows us to produce solar at one site and send it over to beneficial accounts. When we made this bid in 2022, the police department was, not quite finished. Senior Center was still at a different location. And so to make the bid, we had to come up with what you're seeing in the middle of $1 million is a preliminary baseline of each building. And then we had to tell in our bid submission what sort of allocation or how much kWh we were going to send over to each one of those property sites. And you'll see that in the final column. Highlighted in green, you need to understand changes can be made to this program. We'll sit down and collaborate as we move forward because we want to capitalize on the highest consuming building. Right now, the police department in January went from roughly 12 cents to 23 cents off peak and 22 cents on peak. And it ratcheted down. So the utility changes their rates twice a year, once in July and once in January. January always goes higher. And then as they receive their revenues, they ratchet it down a little bit. It never goes down to as much as it's raised, but they usually cut it somewhere in the half to 60% or 40%. And so my suggestion as we move forward is we'll probably take all of the power produced here and send it over to 65 Main Street because that'll have the biggest financial impact to the city. For demonstration purposes, I have some cost buildup over here on the project summary, and then I'll blow up the project pro forma. Cost of that solar array is $2.8 million. In the first yellow bucket, the new tax code through the IRA Inflation Reduction Act now allows private or municipalities and 401c3s to apply for tax credits. And so there will be a $382,000 credit. The guidance on these is just coming out. Last week we got some additional guidance. We got guidance early on about the rate and the program for apprenticeship. And then we're also looking at the ITC because the wastewater or landfill solar array qualifies. And then because we had a reduction in the overall size of the solar array due to the roll test and the instability of some of the land at the landfill, we still have $750,000 that are going to be worked towards this phase 2 project. So there'll be a net financed amount. There are renewable credits that I showed you, and we have the project going positive in the first couple of months of year 18. Let me blow this up so you can see the construct of what happens. We got the years here in the far left-hand column. We've got the solar generation. This 95% is the anticipated production, ratcheted down at 5%, just so that we understand when we shape the payment stream, it's sculpted. That's to the benefit. If we could predict exactly what was going to happen with the sun and happen with the actual rates, then we would be able to be at 100% or more. But just so that we're not any finger pointing, it's just some sort of a risk strategy that we've established. The NRES is a 20-year contract, so it did go, the ZRECs were 15, so we now have 20 years, and we do have a guarantee on this, so we're doing the measurement and verification. The best thing about the solar programs is the full transparency. You'll see it on bill. The renewable energy credit from UI tracks it and sends a report to the city to get that payment stream, as well as you'll have access to the data acquisition system that's actually on site, and you can post that virtually onto your website and everybody can see it. And so you have some payment streams that follow. These things do follow in arrears. The guidance has been 12 to 18 months. So as we make these applications, we'll be using those as a buy down to the overall project. And basically in year 3 and 4, at some point at that term, we'll get a levelized payment stream, and then we'll be paying off the asset. The panels, the system will be about a 50-year life. The panels will have a full warranty on the panels for 25 years, but because of state statute, we're demonstrating only 20 years here. That will be the end of the presentation. I just have some pictures of the landfill and the DPW that got the new roof and the solar in our phase 1 project.
Aaron, is this a grant application? So you have like a timely.
No, we've received the subsidy award, that value of $1 million.
Okay.
We just have to build the system, or that grant goes away.
Okay.
And it's a renewable energy subsidy.
Okay, thank you.
Aaron, if you can just go back one page. That first column, the solar generation savings, can you talk a little bit about the conservative nature of these estimates?
Yeah.
Versus what you use versus what we're actually seeing for rates and things?
Yeah, I mentioned it too. You know what? I let me see if I can pull a slide up real quick here. Can everybody see that? And let me see if I can put this into, well, can we see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So back in 2022, when we made the bid, you guys were running about 12 cents. And that's what you're seeing here on the police station. Okay. And it's down here on the bottom, total rate on peak and off peak. What happened in July or January 1st, the police department went to 26 cents and 23 cents. You all probably remember seeing it on your residential bills, a spike in the overall cost. It has since come down in the July to around that 16 cents, but we anticipate that it's going to go back up again. And I know UI has a large request, multi-million-dollar request at Pure that first got denied, but that's typically how it happens. They deny in the original application and then they come back. So if they ask for 100 million, they're going to end up getting 80 million. So we'll see that price being reflected in the rates that they charge. But from the perspective that you see that Kurt was pointing out, if I go back to this slide here, that's 66,405 is based upon 12.2 cents. In reality, every kWh that is produced and consumed will have a cost avoidance higher than what you have. If I could predict these, I would, but it's a commodity. So we had to put something down on paper to be able to execute this scope of work as a change order. We guarantee units and not dollars, but we have to set a baseline and we set a rate. And so you'll realize 544,000 and a few extra of kWh hours And if we put them to the police department, which is going to be our recommendation, you're definitely going to see a much higher return, and that won't increase your payment for the borrowed funds, but it will be a larger savings in your approved operating budget under the electrical column.
So Aaron, I know you and I kicked this around just a little bit. If we had used the more aggressive number in that column, what would it potentially reduce the pay down to?
About 11 years.
Right. So again, we're going to show the 18 years, the more conservative standard approach, but this could actually have a quicker payback period depending on how cost and things like that go. So I just wanted to have Aaron touch on that because this is a little bit different than the solar project over at the transfer station. Because we're going to be able to, as Aaron had said, move this electricity around to address the buildings that are essentially costing us the most. And I know Aaron touched on a little bit, this is something that we can review each year and make the determinations and move that money around so we're getting the greatest impact for the city.
There's an ancillary benefit, Kurt, that I failed to mention, but we're producing KWH. The net KWH that's consumed on the building is a multiplier in what's called the demand side of the equation. And so that demand is fixed at 1 year. We'll in the future talk about a strategy to do demand limiting, but it will have an additional impact on the overall bills because the demand multiplier will be less by the KWH that's consumed.
Okay, I'll see what I can find out.
I don't think that was directed for you, Aaron.
Okay.
I don't think it was either. So Kurt, what do we need to do to move to phase 2, 3? From here?
Well, I think what we would be looking for at this portion would be some type of affirmative action to allow a contract to be reviewed by Corporation Counsel Marini to make sure that it addresses all the concerns and protects the city. And then once that is signed off by him, the ability for the mayor to enter into that agreement to get this process going, because we do, as Aaron had mentioned, we are on a little bit of a clock, and we want to make sure that we're able to get this process going and get everything completed in a timely fashion.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, hey, Aaron, it's Tony. So on those carports, there's usually, at least for the ones that I've seen kind of around different towns, the charging stations for electric cars.
Absolutely.
Do those usually come hand in hand, or is that kind of a separate feature? And have we discussed that? Is there a revenue side to that?
Yeah, so we're exploring that opportunity. If we get the blessing of the board to move forward, we're going to try to get those installed at no cost. There's several programs around. They can be a revenue generation, and so I think that would be a collaborative approach on how you want to handle that. And I don't know if there's any direction that some fleet vehicles maybe are going to go over to the electric side, and this would be a perfect opportunity to keep them covered from the snow as well as being able to charge up there.
Automated voice messaging system. 2034107.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I make a motion to move it forward.
Second.
Motion by Rivers, second by Knott. So the moving forward, it would be authorizing or giving permission to negotiate the agreement through Corporation Counsel, correct, Kurt?
Yes, and then also empower the mayor to sign off on said agreement.
All right. Rivers, you okay with that?
Yes, I'm okay with that.
All right. Trish, did you get that?
Did we lose Trish?
Did we lose Trish?
Yeah, I don't see her.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
You get the wording on that?
I did.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so go to it. Thank you,
Thanks,
Aaron.
everybody.
for coming.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you, Aaron.
Kurt,
Thank you, Aaron.
filling in the gaps as well. Moving on, the next item, old business number 3. This is the request for the public parking space. Just as a quick introduction or recap, we've previously discussed this as a private parking space. It came to us, planning and zoning, although stated in this letter that we got this month that planning and zoning did not need to do an 824. They did do an 824 and referred a negative 824 to us, citing safety concerns, et cetera. But that was old, that was old, and that was a private spot, and we voted against that several months ago. And this is a request for a public parking spot at the same location, 22 Silver Hill Road. Whatever you guys decide, I want this to be the final. This is the final time we're going through this. There's public, private. I think that's pretty much covers it. So what's your pleasure?
I have some issues here that I want to address, and we've talked about this so many times that I feel like we're going round and round in circles. We know that the street is a narrow street. It's been said by the homeowner himself. There's issues, there's people's mirrors you're saying have been broken or potential for being broken. So why would we even consider this if it's on a dangerous section of roadway? Second thing is, it was not necessary in the last 824. They addressed safety concerns, so those safety concerns haven't gone anywhere. If the homeowner is doing construction for his benefit, because he's the only one who's going to benefit from this, and he's doing the construction, it's still public property. That means the city is liable for work that the city's not even doing. If God forbid somebody gets hurt on that property, because the property is still going to be the city's liability. It's not going to be the homeowner's liability, even though he's doing the construction. And lastly, I mean, he's the only one who benefits. He said it today. It's for him to be able to bring his groceries. First, there was a handicapped issue. Then there was another issue. I feel like we've wasted so much time of this board in denying this request so many times over and over. Can we just make a final determination tonight? And I put it out to the rest of the aldermen. I will make a motion to deny and be done with this.
I'll second that motion, but I have a comment too. So I guess it sets kind of and John, you could help me maybe from the legal aspect here of, granting, public use of property, anywhere. What's to stop any resident from asking for city use to park a car, a boat, a truck, a plane, something like that on city property somewhere else? So
I suppose a similar request could be made in other situations as well. The request to have a right-of-way converted to a parking spot. The only question would be, is it warranted under the circumstances, I would say.
Oh, God, you people get.
Josh, I wanted to express some concerns about this as well. In our ward, it's the second ward, I'm sure this is true for the lower wards in general. We have a situation where single family homes were converted to 2-family, 3-family homes without enough off-street parking. A lot of that occurred under previous administration, but it's a problem that has very negatively impacted the neighborhood today. I view this as a slippery slope. There are 100 people within the vicinity of where I live that would, love to have be able to carve out a spot in front of their house on a right of way, so that they would have a designated place to park. And many of these people are carrying their groceries now, 400 feet, a block away, because that's where they can find a spot to park, because there's a shortage of off-street parking. I think that this is also a slippery slope in terms of the right-of-way issue. We have a problem on Woodbridge Avenue with people who have no place else to park, parking on the sidewalks, which is a right-of-way, right? If you let this occur, those folks should have every right to park on the sidewalk, right? And be able to be granted permission to park in a right-of-way, because it's convenient for them. It would help them get their groceries in, because it would be close to the entrance to their home, which they own or they're renting. I am sorry to see the amount of time of this board spent on this item, and I would join Bobby in hoping that this would be the final consideration for this, but I will be voting against it.
Joe?
Comment. I don't believe that, I believe we've covered this very well. It's really not our purview to be able to handle this and make a decision properly. I think it should be referred to the police commission, where all parking and other type of violations that might occur with a vehicle being parked on or off the road, I think we should refer it to the police commission and let them make the final decision, because it's not up to us 100%. We're kicking this around, and we've made enough to do with it. And we're not in favor of it, but we do know that there are other circumstances that have to be taken into consideration. And I think the police department or the police commission is in charge of probably deciding whether or not this would be allowed.
Oh, it's not. They're not.
I would tend to disagree. The police department is not. It's up to this board, because I mean, ultimately, we would need to allow him to do construction on to make his own access to his property. And I agree with Steve. In the second ward, there are so many people who would jump at the opportunity to have access to their property a little closer to their home, and it would be purely for their own benefit. But I've said my piece. I have a motion.
I agree.
That's it.
Any other comments? We have a motion and a second. Any other comments from?
I'd like to be able to speak on this.
No. You spoke in public session. You've spoken probably a half a dozen times. You've
gotten some serious wrong things with everything that you've spoken about now.
This is Chris.
This is not town property that you're talking about. This is the right of way.
Chris.
This is where everybody can walk.
This is not a public session. We're not discussing this. We talked about this. You submitted your letter. We talked about this probably a half a dozen times in public.
Yes, and for 3 years.
Yeah,
thank you.
Take it to the police.
Thank you.
We knock it down, but he could take it to the police.
He can do what he wants with it, but this is the last time we're discussing this thing in a parking space. 22 Silver Hill Road in a parking space. We're done. Motion second. Any other comments from the alderman? All right. So all in favor of denying this request for a public parking space at 22 Silver Hill Road?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion denied. That's the end of old business. And we have 2 items for executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Second.
By Rivers, second by Tar. The 2 items are Megan Shookman.
Oh, right.
Let's go back. We had a
We
motion.
got to back it up. The recording wasn't on.
Yeah, say it again.
All right, we have a motion to come back to regular session.
Motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
By Rivers, second by Tar. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So we had 2 items in executive session. Number 1, claim number 07231045, Megan Shookman RE vehicle damage claim. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to pay the claim.
Second.
Motion to pay claim by Tar, second by Rivers. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries unanimously. And item number 2, 31 Ben Street versus City of Ansonia. How would you like to proceed with that?
I'll make a motion to proceed as discussed.
Second.
Motion to proceed is discussed in executive session by Tar, second by Mamone. Any discussion on this one? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimously.
Motion
And
to adjourn.
Second.
motion to adjourn by Rivers, second by, who was
Mamone.
that? Mamone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
everyone.
all.
Good
Have a
night,
nice-
everybody.
Good night, everybody.